Hello and welcome to Warblog. Today we're looking at northern Samaria, Israel, 1948. This is it's another part of the Arab-Israeli Wars, 1948, a bit further north, with the Iraqis invading eastward. So essentially we have three brigades, as they're called, and they attack Gesher there, and they have this Golani, who is that? Golani division. Just opening up another screen. The Golani Brigade. So they have the Golani Brigade. Now the thing is, I had two options for deploying these. I could just put them all in there, which I didn't think would be particularly reasonable, or I could distribute them across that sort of Iraqi borderline there. And so I've done that, because if they were all in Gesher, well, the Iraqis might sort of just go around. So it's an odd one, and when you actually look at the disposition, it just seems that no matter what you do, there's not much that they can do to protect Gesher. Now, it's only a Wikipedia entry, so it doesn't necessarily mean it's correct, and I am sort of thinking, well, they probably attacked across the whole front with a focus on Gesher. They put pressure on the whole front with the main assault going towards Gesher, etc. And so what I've done is I've included these as secondary objectives. So you've got Dagya, and it's called Dagya LF secondary objective. You've got Beat Jenin secondary objective. So these are not objectives that were actually historic. They're just sort of, because they're on that front line, I've given them an objective status. These two in fortifications and these just villages. So it's really only this which is the objective. And now the thing is, this is where I won't say it's totally odd, but so they fail. So you know there's three brigades there against one, and only a fraction of one. So I would imagine that if you sort of try to play it reasonably, to attack across the whole front with a focus on Gesher, but possibly dedicating some resources to these other objectives, and possibly just trying to break through into Israel proper. Otherwise, if you were to take all of these units, I'm pretty sure that Gesher would fall. And it's another one of those sort of scenarios, as well as the southern battle, where you can't really model it because, in the southern one there was about 100 people stood off about 5,000 Arabs, Egyptians, or whatever they were. And so it's just good luck. The other thing that sort of makes it a bit odd is that after failing to assault Gesher, they actually then move into this part of Palestine. Now I'm guessing it is Palestine. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, because I can never really remember. Well, I'm not entirely sure, but basically there's a triangle that's defined like this, and then they basically go and sit in this triangle to put pressure on the inner areas. Now, my history is not brilliant, but I'm pretty sure that this is the Palestinian border as defined by whatever treaty was signed that started and initiated this war. So this is also the Palestinian. Well, this is actually this is Palestine. I mean, I'm assuming that it is actually Palestine, which is sort of within the Israeli sort of, within the Israeli sort of block of land, really. I guess it's Israel that's in Palestine. I mean, the whole thing was Palestine, and so this is where all the Palestinians are, and this is what the Israelis have been given. And so they move from attacking Gesher into this relative safe haven of Palestine within this triangle defined by these towns. And then, what's the time scales on this? So they attack on the 25th, and then on the 29th, they move on the 25th. Yeah, on the 25th they basically move into here. So presumably the Iraqi attack goes in at the initiation of the first battles. So presumably the 15th of May so presumably this happens on the 15th of May, the assault here, and then they move into here, and then on the 25th of May, so let's just put the 15th there, and then on the 25th they attack this way, and they basically take Geulim, and then they make it as far as Kfar, Yona and Ein Vered before they are stopped by essentially by the Alexandroni Brigade, Alexandroni Brigade. So the Alexandroni Brigade then stops them and pushes back, and they take Geulim back, and then later they basically on the 1st of June the Carmeli and Golani, so this is the Golani, the Carmeli and the Golani units attack Jenin there, and they capture it briefly, but the Iraqis counterattack and repulse the Israelis. So it's a bit of a standoff, and after that nothing happens. So there's the complete history of that particular segment of the 48 war. As said, I really can't see it being something that will actually model properly, just because of the sheer numbers. So there's two ways to play it. You either sort of try to model it so that you take a little bit of a blow at Gesher, but really try to take it so that then you can move your units around, and that would be to sort of sort of trying to role play the whole thing through. But I think if you sort of try and just play it properly, which I'm just going to do now, just to see what happens. It could be that I've used too many troops. One thing the Wikipedia doesn't say, it doesn't say how big these brigades are. So basically I've given each brigade 15 companies. Now if you use the NATO sort of formatting, that's pretty low. And if there's three companies in a battalion, there's 5 battalions, which isn't, this is just over a regiment. And so the exact size, but the thing is, the reason I've sort of left it at that and happy with that, because it's really all relative. If that's 3, and these are brigades as well, I mean, you've got basically 1, 2, 3, you've got 4 brigades versus 3. in total. The only other thing to say is that these ones down here, the Kiati Brigade, they do not they're not sort of activated, and they're basically just outside Tel Aviv. So you don't move those, but you might want to. So it's a pretty even sort of battle, except the Israelis are all the way over here on the coast with 2 of their brigades. So you've only got 1 against 3. So the Iraqis should win, really. So as I said, I'm trying to sort of just look at that. Just reload that. Now, obviously we can only really move 1 square at a time with these infantry units. So they're going to be worth 4, 8, 12 times 3, 36. We get 4, 8, 16, 28. Nothing. I'm not going to attack there yet. So they're going to be worth 8, 16, 24. (24) times 3, 72. That's a lot. Maybe only is something that 1 to 3. Somebody think, well, maybe I do need all 3 brigades against that little stack in there. I did actually. This is more than 15. I think I gave them 1 extra unit there, and one extra. There's an extra. Well, it doesn't matter where they are because they're all the same. But I gave them 2 extras. So I think there's 17 companies here, just because they're so spread out. I'm going to do an attrition here as well. Okay, so we failed so far on our attacks, which is just as it happened in reality. Sort of 2 movement on that. Gives us a nice front line. Okay. Okay, that's that line. The Carmeli Brigade. It's quite strange really, because we've got an almost perfect defence there, and there's not much it sounds like I can really move much around to change any of this. So I'm going to leave everything to stay as it is so we can start digging in. Okay. We probably would need all 3 brigades to take that out. That's still going to be 72, isn't it? 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's 27. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 24. So that's 40, 51. Plus all the bonuses for the armour. So it's going to be about 60, so probably a 1 to 2, plus the surround of 20%. 60, could possibly be pushing a 1 to 1 on that. I'm going to go for it on the condition that it might be a 1 to 1. Oh, well, an exchange, that was fortunate. It took me a while to realise that that was 108, 81 though. Oh, I know why they're higher. They're fortified and they're in a town or a village, which gives them an extra bonus as well. That's quite surreal, really. But they're now fatigued. They're still too far away to engage, so let's see if we can do some attrition here. 1.2 damage. There's some damage there. Probably not a lot of point trying this, but why not? Nothing, no. Okay, and might as well do this one. No. Oops. So we'll end that turn. Again, we're not going to move anything because we all seem to be sort of like pretty hunky-dory there. But we're going to try it. The thing is, there's no roads. There should be some tracks across here somewhere. It's very slow going. It's interesting how the roads do actually make a difference. I didn't do that attack there at all. Okay. And one thing I didn't do last time, which I sort of will do this time, hopefully this should give us a little bit more. I shouldn't really have a button to select everything, but I don't think that would really work because it would select the siege as well and then I'd have to go and unselect it or something. I wonder what that's going to look like. An attacker retreat. An attacker retreat. What's that going to look like? You know, in hex format. Let's have a look. Oh, that's a real retreat. And based on that, I am going to withdraw the Iraqi forces now, because we've taken a huge defeat. We failed. I always marvel at how, when I play it, it's like there's some divine intervention making it happen as it did historically. I mean, I try to make the assault fairly realistic by doing a whole frontal wave. I put quite a lot of units. I've got that 1-to-1, and who knows, maybe it was a 1-to-1 in real life in that sense. I mean, we had more than 1-to-1 in numbers. You know, I mean, they've got in there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 companies, and we had, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. You know, we had about 4-to-1 in numbers, 4 or 5-to-1 in numbers. But we're going to call a retreat on that. Okay, so he's fully moved. So they're all moved up. They're all moved. Okay. Should put some tracks in here because a lot of those take too long to play in a little video, removing everything. I don't like these big maps, they just take so much longer to do anything. I'm going to try and focus on smaller maps. Not so much all the time, but I try to do the big map as a sort of like a treat or a special, you know, a bit of a luxury, you know, because they are more interesting. But the thing is, they take longer to make, and 4 times longer than a small one, so it's almost 4 times the area, and they take a lot longer to play. But you know, in a game like this, I think it's conducive to a bigger map because you've got these objectives here, and then you've got them over here, etc. So let's come to the Israeli turn here. They're going to need to get onto the road. Okay, they're all going to sort of hold their ground in these towns. I'm going to assume that they're not actually going to invade into this part of Palestine just yet, maybe because they don't want to be too aggressive. I'm not sure what their historic sort of plan was, but they're probably trying to spend more time defending what they've got as opposed to overextending to save some suffering and risk of any loss. We don't actually know what's in here. Presumably there'll be some sort of Arab League units which I haven't put in. So these units are sort of slightly stuck, and they've got the option to either try and move back. And because they're armour, because they've sort of come from this direction, I am going to try that. Let's see how far we can get through with this armour. So we can push this unit away. It's worth 4. It's worth 6, 12, 18, 4 to 1-ish, 3 to 1, DR. Well, the benefit of that is we make this turn easier. I mean, it's shorter now. We can just go straight through here. Try some attrition against that. Well, I haven't got 0.2 attrition against them. That's a start. Let's see what we can do here. Probably not worth attacking because they're dug in, I think. Nothing. The roads have really allowed them to go a lot further. And to save another attack, I'm going to move into there. So, I'm going to call this the last turn because I don't really want to be sitting here moving all of these infantry units one hex at a time. I'm going to have another look at the map and see whether or not I can do anything with the tracks. Now I know there's no other main roads. The only thing, just a little comment here, is that these Iraqi units are not there. They're in their away kit, so to speak, because if you look at any of the other games, the Iraqi units have green units, and they are exactly the same as the Israeli units. And when I looked at it, they're exactly the same colours. So I sort of, I thought, well, what should I do? I've got to change them, and I thought I'd base it on the flag. It's going to be red at the top and black at the bottom with a green stripe, and I thought, well, that's not actually their flag, so it's now their Iraqi flag, although it's not, the proportion's not exact, but because they're equal. But so I based it on the flag, and I quite like them actually. So I feel like doing all the other Iraqi units. I might do this for all our future Iraqi units. I like the ones and they're slightly more colourful. I mean, these basic units, the colours, they're okay. But that's how I started when I was doing them. It's just otherwise you start to when you run out of colours. Even shades of green have sort of run out of. So I think these are far more attractive, and they're actually quite useful because you can identify the flag, sort of. But it's their away kit. Well, they're in a zone of control, so I'm going to be able to go 1, but it's not that bad. Probably better off sticking on the road here. So we'll have a little attrition on this Gesher. Huh, 1.6. We keep doing that, we should stay there and take it. Okay, I'm not going to do any more because I don't want to sit here just moving units around. It'd be nice. Yeah, because it's going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. As soon as I can get to the road, but if I can put some tracks in there, I think I want to make it so it's at least a little more playable. So that's one of the reasons I play these games, is to sort of just check that everything's sort of working, and I'm quite happy with that. In fact, I'm very happy with that where that Gesher battle worked out. I think it's the sort of thing that you probably need a little more time to play. I mean, I've played a few of these games sort of beyond the video actually recently, just because I felt like it, and it's very nice. Sort of you play it, leave it, and then you can just go back to it and play another turn, and it works like that. But you can see that we're going to get the Iraqi forces into this triangle, and then from there we regroup and attack this way. So that's the long-term story. This is, I think, the third one in this 48 series, and it's quite interesting really, because I did the first one a while back. I did the recent one, the Jerusalem one, or one around near that fort, or whatever it is. What is it? Not the Battle for Jerusalem, Latran. The Battles of Latran. I haven't done the, I've left the Battle for Jerusalem out, although I might do it, but I think it's more of a sort of a low-level I have to have a look at it, but I sort of assumed because it's the battle for Jerusalem that it would be more itty-bitty, sort of skirmishing, etc. But the next one to do, and I'm not sure when I'm going to do it, is the northern front, Lake of Galilee, and after that that'll be pretty much the whole of the 48 war in 4. If I do the Jerusalem one, that'll be 5 scenarios, and I'm pretty sure I can maybe put in a few more. When I say a few more, I mean, I don't know how diverse the northern front is. It indicates it as the battles of Kinnerot Valley. I don't know whether that will give me another battle in the northern front, and then the battles of Kinnerot Valley as a separate one, etc., etc. So, but once that's done, I'll be able to sort of set up a playlist on YouTube that will cover all of the 48 battles. And one of the reasons I started with 48 in the Arab-Israeli Wars is because the Arab-Israeli Wars are quite complex, and it's one of the reasons I sort of delayed doing them. The more complex, the more effort you've got to put into doing them. When you do these Syrian and Iraqi Civil War ones, you just plonk a few counters on. It's simple. No one really notices when something's not perhaps historically balanced or relevant. These ones are a little more challenging, but I'm trying to go through the whole lot, all of them, and so the next set of battles will be whatever the next war is. And they started to get quite a bit larger and more involved. But I feel that there's certainly picking up on the history and the background to it all to almost sort of qualify moving on to the next set of battles in a position to be able to put them into perspective and context of the whole history. But even so, I'm always sort of impartial, but I'm always sort of in awe to some extent regarding how how close the Israelis were to being wiped off the face of Israel, or wiped off the face of Palestine, whichever way around you want to look at it. Because they had a lot of troops, and I mean, it's not demonstrated there. I'm pretty sure that if we just, I don't like doing that. You just put everything around Gesher. We could have won that, but trying to play it properly. I mean, even on a 1-to-1, that could have got a good result, and could have won there. I mean, but there's a lot of units here. I mean, it's war, but they were up against it nonetheless. With a lot of units, 3 brigades, 3 Iraqi brigades versus 1. I mean, that's 3-to-1 odds. It's a bit like the sort of the Napoleonic Waterloo, where Napoleon tried to hit each one of the allies on their own, one by one, with his full force, and that's a strategic, method of dealing with the enemy, instead of letting Blucher come down here and Wellington or whatever. And if they can combine all their forces, it'd be slightly different. But they do have armour, and these don't have any. And I've just given them infantry, because it seems that that one of the key things about the Arab-Israeli 1948 war was they really were sort of fairly rudimentary. But there's nothing else in there, because I can't find anything else that sort of specifies what was what. I mean, I can see pictures of air operations. We had some air operations in the southern one, but there's no reference to aeroplanes being used, or the Israelis having any armoured or any armoured cars or any motor transport. So I haven't got that. But the thing is, I could go in there and maybe sort of rebalance things. I could maybe give them some motorised transport. It's not unreasonable they might not have had some lorries or something, or at least some of their units motorised, if not all of them. I don't know. Because it's pretty slow going across these desert tracks, and I quite like it when it's like that. And I think the balance between 1 movement and 3 along the road kind of works. Really makes you sort of want to sort of take control of the roads and use this road. For example, I got quite down here quite fast along that road, but then so I really need to sort of identify some tracks along here, etc., etc. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. If you feel inclined, for going that whole hog, I think it'd be quite interesting. I mean, you might win at Gesher. But if you can get down here and take out Netanya, that could be equally as rewarding. You can play that when you sign up and all that if you want. And either way, I'll speak to you later. Cheerio. Bye.